We're able to check out some Warzone 2 footage, and we learned a ton of things. As you can see, this gameplay from different people's streams throughout the day. One of the first things that a lot of people were scared of, especially when we got to play it early a couple months ago, was the player count. As you can see, when they were loading in, it's 150 players right off the bat. So that is nice to see. That's something that we're accustomed, and they've kind of kept that change. If they weren't necessarily going to keep it before, it's good they've made that change to adjust to the pacing that I think most players are used to. On top of that, they've also made it so that loadouts are a huge part of the game in one way or another. Initially, if you're looking to get one of your loadout guns, let's say you spent this time grinding Modern Warfare 2, as I have, you've put all the camos into it, whatever, you want to be able to get access to that gun. You just go to a buy station, you buy that one weapon, and that's it. You get the gun with the class setup the way you normally have it with all the tuning, but you don't get the secondary, you don't get the tactical, lethal, you don't get any of the perks. That's just kind of how you get it, and that's it. And the other thing is that they're going to have world loadout spawns, and these are going to come from the sky. They're going to be fixed around the map. You can kind of see in the gameplay, there's a bunch scattered around, and it's not like you can get one and that's it. That's your only loadout. You get access to all of them if you happen to get there in time. They do have a certain time limit before they disappear, but once you grab one, you could head to the next and grab another one, and you'll get access to your entire full loadout, the same we've been accustomed to within Warzone 1. And this adds a little bit of nuance because you're not going to be 100% sure how many people are in the area trying to get that exact same loadout. First, at least in Warzone, you kind of see 4 loadouts spawn in, and you would know that there were generally going to be 4 teams in the area, including yourself, and you kind of do your business a little bit differently. If you only saw one loadout, you'd know, okay, our area is mostly clear, probably no one in the area, and you kind of lock in on that loadout. So this will be a little bit different. They spawn right around 14 minutes into the match, which I think is kind of the halfway point for the entire match, since the matches are a few minutes longer than we've been accustomed to within Verdansk or Caldera. And then the third way to get your loadout, and this is the fastest way to get your loadout, and as soon as possible in the match, right when there's about 10-15 seconds left in the first zone before it starts collapsing, it opens up the strongholds. You can go ahead and clear out the strongholds, and this will give you access to a loadout, and you'll use this loadout the same way, and you'll get access to all your perks, and you'll be set up earlier on, and then when the second loadout comes, you can either use that as a regain, or you can just go and get a different weapon if maybe you wanted to kind of diversify as you get into it. So that'd be the 3 ways. If you're looking to get a loadout right at the beginning of the match, a couple minutes in, you're going to have to clear a stronghold to get that loadout. If you want to avoid AI entirely, you could just not go for that and just work with the floor loot until that world spawn comes in. One thing that was interesting was the plate system. Is how is it going to work from the player shooting a player with 2 plates or 3, and they've clarified this pretty easily. If you're shooting someone, it'll show up as purple when you know that they have 3 plates, and it'll show up as blue by default. Obviously, you could change your color settings to modify that, but those would be the default ones. So you know when you're starting to shoot someone, whether they had 2 plates or 3, you can kind of choose your engagement effectively, knowing that, hey, they have a little bit extra armor because they have that, and they made that clear in the game so that when you're shooting someone, it's very clear. Obviously, as a system, I didn't think they should change, but it's nice to know that they've kind of adapted it so the person shooting is getting the proper intel. On top of that, it looks like in-game events are returning. They did play a good amount of matches, and there was only one jailbreak or one in-game event that we noticed. There was a jailbreak because obviously everyone comes back, and it works very much the same. As long as you're spectating, you're going to be able to spawn back in, and this kind of a private match, everyone pretty much came back. So it'll be interesting how that dynamic works, and if they're going to bring back some of the other quality of life features, because jailbreaks weren't at the beginning of Warzone, they were something they added later on. So it's nice to see they've kept some things that are along those lines. And I think a lot of people would like to hear about this next one, is that it looks like you can actually climb rocks a little bit more effectively than you probably could in Verdansk and even in Caldera, which was slightly improved, at least in terms of design. It looks like there are rocks that you'll be able to just walk up and climb, whereas maybe you would have thought that that was too steep of a climb or whatever before. So that's a nice little feature to be able to navigate and move around the terrain. And another important part is the looting. A lot of people were like really unsure about how the looting will work, and it looks like they've gone with a hybrid system. You do have a backpack the same way that we had in Blackout and other battle royales, where you kind of have an inventory on top of the weapons you're holding, and you kind of just work around them. You could hold multiple items, and if you're opening certain boxes, it will be an inventory adjustment. If you're looting a body, it will be an inventory adjustment. But if you just you land on a chest, it uses what we'd call a vomit loop, where it just spits it out, and you kind of just pick it up off the ground, and you don't have to spend too much time in the menu. So they've kind of modified it for when you land fast, open a box, get the gun, get into action, And then when you have the time to pause, slow it down, get your loot, you can actually go through, navigate, and sort that appropriately. And I know for some people, they're not going to go for that, but at the end of the day, they've kind of compromised and found a middle ground. So it can still have that slower battle royale feel, but also that faster pace on start, get your gun and get into action immediately type of feel as well. So it's kind of balanced out there. One thing that doesn't have me a little concerned is the backpack system, the amount of items you're able to hold, because you can hold duplicates of the same item. You can hold like 4 precisions, multiple UAVs. You can hold like 15 plates if you wanted, because each inventory is designated how much you can hold. And you can just fill that up with that one item if you wanted. And there are some scenarios that I already know people are going to be working to trying to min-max that. If you needed 17 Semtexes, you can probably hold that many Semtexes, which would be kind of crazy. Just go around Semtexing everybody or cooking nades or whatever, or having tons of self-revives. I could imagine that could be an issue unless that's an off-limit item. That'll be kind of an interesting dynamic we'll have to look at as we get into it. Another part that looks like it's changed, or maybe it was just the bugged audio, who knows, is that when you get a revive off, if you're reviving off a teammate or they self-revive, it doesn't appear that there's this loud audio cue that we've gotten accustomed to within Warzone. So you're gonna kind of have to be aware, you're not gonna be able to hear when the person actually revives, unless they change that. That's kind of where it's at now, which kind of causes you to have to play the situation a little bit differently, because you can't expect to get that audio cue. They also modified fall damage. Right now, currently as it sits in Warzone, if you fall off something, you either die or you don't die. There's no damage involved. It's either a full death, full wipe, or you get downed, you can get revived, and you lose some plates. In this specific scenario, if you take fall damage, even if it's the slightest amount, you can lose barely a sliver of health. It won't impact your plates, because obviously plates are kind of a little bit more of a commodity now that it could take up inventory slots. You're kind of capped at 3, not 5 or 8 with the satchel. You kind of got to balance your inventory a little bit differently. You can't be wasting plates from falling. Or if you take a little bit higher fall damage, you'll actually lose more health, which will impact that, and you'll see that, and you're not going to instant die. Obviously, that'll kind of give you an idea of, hey, once you get to this height, this is where you're going to fall to your death height. And I don't know 100%, but I would imagine if you're getting revived, you'll start with full plates because you didn't take any damage. Today, I'm sure we're going to find out a ton more, but I'm really interested to know what your guys' thoughts are. If you guys had a chance to see the gameplay, or from the gameplay you've seen in the background, are you more or less excited about Warzone 2? Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.